One question that everyone keeps asking us when they come in for their back pain or their neck pain is, what's causing it? What structure, what nerve, what muscle, what joint? Or is it something else completely? Well, today what I'd like to do is to share with you a couple of the tips and tricks and secrets that we teach our physios and the public at large as a bit of a screening test as to what it could be and if you need to seek treatment for your back or neck pain. If you are joining us, please type in below and say hello. So there's four things really that we're thinking about in terms of back and neck pain. Okay, is it muscle, is it joint, is it nerve, or is it something else entirely? So let's go through a few of those to see what it could be. Now the first thing that I should say is that brains are really bad at working out on their own what it could be. It could feel like a nerve, it could feel like a joint, it could feel like a muscle, but it could be something different entirely. So let's go through it. Number one, the muscle, okay? If there's an issue with the muscles in your back or in your neck, typically what we find is that, say for example, there's pain on your right side of your back. What you'd find is that if it's a muscular problem, when you're moving away from the side of pain, so if you're tipping towards your left-hand side or bending forward because it's on your back, we find that that could be a muscular issue, okay? That's particularly important to sort of note if it feels weak to do it or it feels stiff either first thing in the morning or gets tired towards the end of the day. So that's how we know that it could be a muscle that's the problem. The second one is, could it be a joint issue? Okay, now joint pain typically gets worse when you move in the direction towards the side of pain, because what happens is that the joint surfaces can compress and squeeze together, okay? Puts pressure through the joint surfaces, and that can cause the pain if there's an issue with the joint. So if the pain is on my right hand side, the moving towards it will be like a sharp catching pain that's really quite local to where the issue is. Okay, so there's no pain referral for a joint pain normally, it's basically right in the spot. I must say, of course, that there are exceptions to every rule, but just remember that these are just some basics, and of course you need to talk to your health professional to actually get a correct diagnosis. So I just want you to remember that when you're watching this video. The third thing we're looking at is to see if it is nerve pain. Okay, now nerve pain is a really distinctive, really a sort of gnawing, vague type pain that you can get. So if it's nerve pain, typically what it involves is a referral pattern. Okay, so the nerve actually happens to come out of your back or neck and into your leg or arm respectively. So if there's pain that is sort of coming from your back down into your thigh, down into your calf, or in the case of your neck, going into your shoulder, into your forearm, or into your hand, especially when you're moving your neck or moving your back, that might indicate that there is a nerve problem. So for example, if there's a problem with the right hand side of my back, okay, and I either stretch my leg out and it causes pain down my leg and in my back, or if I tilt towards the left hand side and it causes pain in my leg, that might be indicative of a nerve issue, okay? What can also happen with nerve pain is it's a really deep pain. You might feel like that you can't localize the pain very well, or it might be associated with things like pins and needles or numbness as well, okay? So that might indicate to us that there's a problem with your nerve as well. And it's also important to note that you can have a combination of all three. You can have an issue with the muscle that's close to a joint that's also affecting a nerve too. So you can have a bit of a pile-on effect as well, which is why it's really important to seek help to get the right diagnosis in the first place. The fourth and final thing to consider is whether or not it's something else entirely. And typically what I'm talking about, it's whether or not the signals coming from the muscle, the nerve, or the joint are actually being received by your nervous system as abnormal. So in other words, what it means is that you're doing something normal, something that everyday people can do every single day, and it's causing pain that's far and beyond what you would expect. Okay, so for example, doing the dishes in the kitchen, okay, causing pain that would cripple you for 1 or 2 days, okay? There's a very small input, but a very large output. If that's the case, then what we need to consider is the role of the nervous system in all of this, okay? Particularly if you've had some scans before, if you've had some tests before, and everything's come back relatively normal, but the pain is enormous. So what that's telling us, instead of being an issue with the tissue, for example, okay, like a muscle, a joint, or a nerve, it's actually more an issue with the way that the pain, that the signals coming from your muscle, joint, and nerve are being interpreted by your brain. Okay, so there's an issue with the way that your danger and threat system is working, as opposed to something that is entirely an injury or tissue damage. So it's really important to sort of look through that prism, okay? Think to yourself, was what I just did to cause this pain to happen kind of, proportionate to what you would expect? So if you've just lifted a brand new big heavy 50 kilo table and you've had extraordinary pain straight away after doing that, and you've never had pain before, pretty likely it's tissue damage, because you've actually lifted a heavy table and twisted, whoops, away we go, and there's an injury that's happened. But if the pain kind of comes on gradually over time, there's really been no big injury, maybe there's some other sort of lifestyle factors we need to consider as well, lack of sleep, stress, obesity, overweight, these sorts of things, it may be more likely to be a sensitized system that's the cause of that. So basically, I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of what it is that we're thinking of when we hear anyone's story about low back pain. They're the sorts of filters that we're thinking of immediately as to what something could be. Obviously, the best thing to do is to get a full assessment, okay, to actually look at things objectively, get those movements happening, ask all the relevant questions about what things could be, and then make a determination between the two of us about what the next step needs to be in terms of what you want to get back to doing, what you're missing out on, and also getting the right diagnosis so you know, your GP knows, and everybody knows what the best course of action needs to be. I hope that's been really helpful, and we'll join you again soon for the next live video. Cheers and bye for now.